Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and this was a video really I was waiting all day to do. And what do I mean waiting all day to do? Well, we've reported here on several occasions that Elon Musk was going to reveal his humanoid robot Optimus on World AI Day, which is ta-da. And I waited and I waited and I waited, and all I really got was the day before. If you take a look at the thumbnail here in the bottom, those are the actual robot digits. And there was a small video of basically the hands coming together and having the heart. And the message here, of course, is Elon Musk loves you. Robotics love you. This is a good thing. And we're going to unveil some greatness, okay? Now, number one, I want to say this. I watched it. There's still portions of it going on. A lot of it moved into Tesla and its automation motion systems, which are basically almost the same thing as what they're using on this robot. But it was very underwhelming, number one. Very, very. So there are two robots they show you. And we're going to go to the thumbnail here quick again. The hack job on the right-hand side with all the wiring, and it looks like the beatbox, right, in the chest. And then they come out with, like, the other one kind of like on a puppet thing. So we're going to play that, all right? And, you know, Musk addresses some ideas and really falsely says, well, you know, good thing we're a publicly traded company, because if this starts to go sideways, well, you guys are going to be able to buy stocks and vote, and that's a good thing. And that's a mirage, because this guy is a front man for the Defense Department. This doesn't look like it's going to be profitable by any means anytime in the near future, but once it gets going, it's going to be great to automate people out and get you to, again, accept that you're not really worth anything anymore. You should just, you know, take the UBI, bend the knee, and become a slave to your slave masters. That's why we played that Goya clip earlier, okay, and then played some other clips. Well, we're going to be playing another clip here. And we talk about Ray Kurzweil, the singularity, transhumanism, almost in the same breath. We talk about Kurzweil being the head of Calico. Well, we're going to go all the way back to 1999. I believe it's from January of 99, where Kurzweil is discussing his new book, The Age of Spiritual Machines. All right, and here's really one of the key points, because we're going to play almost 20 minutes of it. It's very important stuff, because so much of the basis of this transhumanist movement, both in getting you to adhere to this idea of giving up all of your data, uploading a digital clone or a mind clone of yourself, accepting the virtual age and actually jacking in neural implants, all that stuff, Kurzweil covers here. But the key point that Kurzweil makes that I think is spot on, and people have to realize why it's so dangerous, is that these machines are going to become so sophisticated that they will convince us that they are conscious, whether they are or not. And he doesn't believe they're going to be, but he believes they're going to be able to trick the majority of humanity into thinking they are. This is almost a subsection of one of his disciples, of course, Martin Rothblatt, and saying, well, eventually they're going to get to the point of, you know, having rights like pets, right? Trying to ease it on in. But that's not what this is going to be. He talks about how really it's going to be a post-biological world. That's not just transhuman, that's post-human. And all of this is a journey we are watching unfold in real time. Thumbs it up, subscribe, share, Rumble, Rockfin, and let's get ready to meet the Musker nuts. And watch how remember I told you it's all about love and acceptance? Watch how they start this one off, okay? We're going to fast forward a little bit, huh? There we go. So I'm going to stop it for a second as they get ready to go to the screen and go to the Musks and everybody else. Remember, yesterday was about love and the heart. And look, I'm a punk rock kid. I'm a rock and roll guy. I love me some Metallica. I love going to a live show. I've done the Hang 10. I've done the Hey Now, the Hook 'em Horns, if you will. But do you really start your introduction to the robot with the Hail Satan, with the Let's Get Ready to Rock? I mean, come on. You know, again, I'm not trying to push prophecy or get biblical or tell you what God that you should worship, if any, right? I'm not telling you anything. I'm just saying, look at this. We're about to talk about the age of spiritual machines with Ray Kurzweil. This is the beginning of the robots and automation, and really the merger of man and machine with this trying to replicate the look of a man. And we're starting with this symbolism. I mean, my goodness.
Hello.
It's Elon. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, Elon. Get him. Elon's here. Yeah. We love DARPA and NASA and SpaceX, Elon. Woo! Drone warfare.
All right, welcome, everybody. Let's give everyone a moment to...
He's got a mask on. Woot, woot. And there it is, the love right there.
Great. Welcome to Tesla AI Day 2022. We've got some really exciting things to show you. I think you'll be pretty impressed. I do want to set some expectations with respect to our Optimus robot. As you know, last year it was just a person in a robot suit, but we've come a long way, and it's I think compared to that, it's going to be very impressive. We're going to talk about the advancements in AI for full self-driving, as well as how they apply to more generally to real-world AI problems like a humanoid robot, and even going beyond that. I think there's some potential that what we're doing here at Tesla could make a meaningful contribution to AGI. And I think actually Tesla's a good entity to do it from a governance standpoint, because we're a publicly traded company with one class of stock, and that means that the public controls Tesla, and I think that's actually a good thing.
That's a ridiculous notion. Tesla was propped up by the government. They didn't have to turn a profit. All right, they partnered with them. That's a false argument. It makes me sick to hear, because eventually these robots that they're going to roll out, and like I said, pretty underwhelming. I told you to get ready to be underwhelmed here. Again, it's about acclimation and moving you into the future and taking away your humanity and getting you into the acceptance, right, of these things, that you are being replaced by robots. Publicly traded company, and again, Google, that's a publicly traded company. It's a technopoly. That's a Trojan horse civilian system for the military-industrial complex, just like Tesla. That's what this is. And this is going to be something that is going to be difficult, like I said in the beginning, to scale up, especially I think they want to get to a $20K price point on these things.
So if I go crazy, you can fire me. This is important. Maybe I've gone crazy. I don't know. So we're going to talk a lot about our progress in AI, autopilot, as well as the progress with Dojo. And then we're going to bring the team out and do a long Q&A. So you can ask tough questions, whatever you'd like, existential questions, technical questions, but we want to have as much time for Q&A as possible. So let's see, with that, you guys want to say anything?
Do it! Let's,
guys,
there it is, the love bot.
And
I'm Lizzie, mechanical engineer on the project as well.
Okay. So should we bring out the bot?
Before we do that, we have One little bonus tip for the day, this is actually the first time we try this robot without any backup support. Cranes, mechanical mechanisms, no cables, nothing.
Yeah.
I want to do it with you guys tonight, but it's the first time, so let's see.
You ready? Let's go.
I love how it's like runway music for the robot. There it is. There it is, bare bones style, not attached to anything. It's a robot. Disco dance for us, robot. I mean, I'm going to turn the sound off for a second. So it kind of walks. Doesn't really walk very well right now. But you're watching it. This is the new humanoid robot. And then they take out like a puppet one in a minute. Okay. But this is the beginning. You know, they want to scale this up in a much, much bigger fashion. And the reason it looks like a human is, again, not because it's going to be more efficient, etc. It's to acclimate you to the idea that we should merge with machines. There it is. Yay. Raise the roof, robot. Raise the, yes. There's some roof raising. And I think I'm going to, because they put this robot away pretty quickly. He doesn't do much more. All right. Then they kind of bring out the other robot here that's on a stand. It has a more finished look. Yeah. Oh, there. Let's see. Whoa. Look at me. I mean, it really looks like something out of Disney. Not even really that impressive. But again, we're here to acclimate. Now, there's a couple stories I want to hit before we get to Kurzweil specifically. Okay, apocalypse of its own making. An excerpt from legendary tech reporter Doublik Rushkoff's latest book, "Survival of the Richest: Escape Fantasies of the Tech Billionaires." All right, and they're talking about with the CRISPR, they're talking about their transhumanism, and then they're talking about VR and AI for us. That's what this whole initiative is with the World Health Organization. With the metaverse, with identifying as a multitude of genders, because the future isn't human. Okay, see, the future, who knows what it looks like, but we'll see. Beyond Bulletproof, why billionaires are chasing everlasting health. This is actually this month at Newsweek. Okay, we should do a whole thing on this. But what I want to really do right now, thumbs it up, subscribe, and share if you're new, guys, is go to Ray Kurzweil, The Idea of the Singularity, the author, the man who is basically behind Calico, the immortality division at Google. You never hear much about that old immortality division, do you? Kind of so weird. So weird that we don't hear more about Calico. There it is right here, Calico Labs. And I want to say it again. Kurzweil is going to tell you that these things that we're going to create, these entities, all right, these mind clones are going to be so convincing. We'll think they have consciousness. And they won't. All right? And they won't. Let's just do it. So let's get Kurzweil.
We will have the means to scan the entire human brain, let's say my brain, and make a map of everything that's going on, all the connections, all the neurotransmitter strengths, and have a database, a massive database of trillions of bytes of information representing the state of a human brain at that time. Now, there's a couple of different things we can do with that information. One thing we're already doing is learning about the human brain and how it works. This will give us more insight into human intelligence, which will be one of the beneficial side effects. This program that I demonstrated to you, in fact, has taken advantage of just those kinds of insights. There's been research using scanning as to how the early auditory cortex works, which is the part of the brain that processes sound. And the brain does certain transformations, modifies that information in certain clever ways. And we've basically copied those transformations in this program, and not just us, but this is generally done in this field. And that copying the human brain's very clever modifications to sound, the way it processes it, has enabled these systems to become much more accurate. As we learn all the different tricks of the brain, and the brain really isn't one organ, it's really hundreds of different specialized information processing organs, we'll be able to essentially tap those secrets. The brain is not copyrighted, there's no patent on it, so we're really free to copy those secrets. This is we're going to be able to use those insights together with the results of the different streams of artificial intelligence, neural net, evolutionary algorithm development to create our intelligent machines. Another scenario is to take that giant database, this map of, let's say, my brain, and reinstantiate it in a neural computer of sufficient capacity, basically let that computer copy all of the local brain processes that the scanner has seen in that particular brain. And what will emerge since that entity now will be an exact copy, not using the same methods, it's not using carbon cell-based brains, it's not using DNA-based protein synthesis.
Let me just stop that. Carbon cell-based based brains. DNA synthesis. So he's telling you right there, there's not going to be the same type of biology, and he used the term carbon. This is why all these agendas come back to your social begging score. I'm not even calling it a social credit score. Your carbon allotment. And when I say the carbon that they really want to reduce is you, I mean it. I mean it. Ted Turner, too many people doing too many things. That's why we have climate change. Everything's about climate change. And you're a climate criminal. Meanwhile, again, if you believe their lives, all that methane that's going up there, oh my goodness, it should be an environmental disaster. You never hear about that. You never hear about any type of warfare-based climate change, right? No one's talking about all the tanks that have exploded, all the different shellings, right? Oh no. You know why? Because they're taking away the only carbon they care about, the human carbon. You get it? And right here, he's talking about the replication of consciousness via something that is not even, forget about human, it's not biological.
But it's copying the basic information processing methods, which we're beginning to understand. What will emerge in the machine will be a new Ray Kurzweil. And he'll say, yeah, I grew up in Queens, New York. I went to MIT. I sold these different companies. I walked into a scanner there, and I woke up in the machine here. Hey, this technology really works. And then once we've done that, we can extend his memory 1,000-fold, and he'll be able to think faster. We'll be able to expand various capabilities that he has. And that Ray Kurzweil will achieve a certain form of immortality if he's careful to make frequent backups of his mind file. And, when I go from one notebook computer to the next, I don't throw all my files away. I have my technician copy them over to my next personal computer. So we're not going to throw our mind file away just because the hardware crashes, or as we go to the next very personal computer to embody our bodies and our brains. We'll copy them, and we'll retain that information. There's a little fly in the ointment from my perspective, which is just because there's this entity that thinks it's Ray Kurzweil because he has that memory, that snapshot of all the memories and knowledge that I've accumulated over the last several decades that have been on this planet. I'm still, the old Ray Kurzweil, which is me, is still here in my carbon cell-based brain.
My carbon cell-based, boy, he's just so envious. My carbon cell-based brain.
And so my consciousness hasn't really been transferred over to this new entity. In fact, you could have scanned my brain while I was sleeping and go and create this copy. I wouldn't even necessarily know about it. So I'll just probably end up jealous of this guy because he'll share my ambitions and dreams, but he'll be in a much better position than I am to fulfill them. Now, let's talk a little bit about consciousness. I mean, this is one particular scenario. I think realistically, there will be many different combinations of these scenarios. Most of the intelligent entities we meet will not be copies of a specific person, but they'll be based on the general insights we have into the design of human thinking. And these entities will be able to emulate the full range of human cognitive ability. Now, human thinking is not just logical thinking. It's not just doing mathematics in a better way. In fact, computers already can do that. The essence and ultimate capability in human thinking is human emotion, the ability to recognize humor, to be funny, to recognize sadness and loneliness and joy, to experience those emotions. That's really the essence and the ultimate in human intelligence. And if we understand these processes, and they are the most subtle, complex, deep, and rich phenomena that goes on in the human brain, these new entities will evidence that same kind of rich behavior.
Will evidence that same type of rich behavior. But now he's going to warn you. He's going to say, listen, this is like a replicant scenario via Blade Runner. They are not going to be conscious, but they're going to convince us they are.
We will meet machines in the next century, and what I mean by machines is a non-biological entity, an entity that's not a carbon cell-based entity, that's not based on DNA-guided protein synthesis, but that is nonetheless based on the principles of the methods of the human brain, and they will claim to be conscious, they'll claim to have emotional experiences, they'll claim to have spiritual experiences, hence the title of my book. And unlike entities today, because you can meet virtual personalities in your kids' computer games, these 21st century entities will be very compelling. They'll be very convincing when they evidence these things. And in fact, they'll be very intelligent, so they will succeed in convincing us that they are conscious, that they have emotional experiences, and that they have spiritual experiences.
Now think about that, because they're going to be very, very intelligent. They're going to convince us. But really, you already have a sect that's selling this part to the public because they want to bring in this virtual age. And it's already started. And people have to realize that this is a real part of the agenda. The virtual age that they're trying to sell us is very different from the one that they want to empower themselves with. All right? That needs to be known. We got a Tipsky and Hutch from Rockfin. Mr. Dedamore, how are you? Thank you for my good work. Thank you for watching. All right? Well, they want to create a bioeconomy based on our carbon, folks. Again, step by step, day by day. Here's your humanoid robots. Get ready for the automation. Here's our Internet of Bodies. Get ready for our metaverse with the World Economic Forum. Yay! There's a billion genders. The TerraSim movement from Rothblatt. I mean, all this stuff is the real deal. I wish it weren't. I wish I were wrong on this, guys, but I'm not. From transgender to transhuman, unzipped genes, and virtually human. Now, we're talking about kind of the virtually human. Remember, this person's selling you on the idea, oh, they're never going to have more rights than pets. That's not the, especially if they're smart. And we're not even there yet. But again, this person has created Bina 48, a replication of their spouse. So let's get back to Kurzweil.
But let's ask the question, are they really having those experiences? Well, this gets to a very important issue and a very difficult one, which is the issue of consciousness. It's something we've been debating for thousands of years, back to the Platonic dialogues. And of course, so far, it's been a polite and abstract philosopher's debate. One thing I can say about it, when we get to the 21st century, it won't just be an abstract debate. It'll be a very compelling debate, because if these entities claim to be capable of suffering, there's going to be a whole series of ethical, moral, and legal issues that stem from that. But there are many different ways of looking at it. People have sharp disagreements about the nature of consciousness. Some people say, no, you cannot have consciousness unless you squirt neurotransmitters. You know, unless it's a biological entity built with DNA, it can't be conscious. Well, that's just a statement. I mean, there's no evidence of that. In fact, there's no objective way to penetrate the subjective experience of another entity. Now, we assume that each other are conscious. I assume you're conscious. If I speak much longer, maybe you won't be conscious. But we do assume that other human beings that act conscious are conscious. But it's an assumption. But outside of shared human experience, we're not all of like mind about the consciousness of non-human entities. I mean, take animals. A lot of people, I mean, I think my cat's conscious. Now, even that's a human-centric reaction, because I see behaviors that I associate with human behaviors. I see it expressing fear, or protecting its young, or being hungry, or angry. And I can have some empathy with those behaviors, so I assume it's experiencing something like I've experienced. That doesn't address experiences that other animals might have. There are many animals on Earth, like giant squids, that are extremely complex, but have a neurophysiology very different from ours. What's it like to be a giant squid? I mean, we'll never know. We can't penetrate the subjective experience of another entity.
I actually like him talking about that, but at the same time, and I like him talking about humanizing pets. I think that's also important because that's going to be another one of these consciousness arguments.
So some people say, no, animals aren't conscious. You have to be human to be conscious. It's just a statement. I mean, there's nothing behind that. But, you know, animals just operate by instinct. That's just kind of a simple mechanistic response of the world, and you have to be human to be conscious. How will you ever settle that debate? You can make arguments about it. You can point to different scientific research showing how certain animals' brains are very similar to humans, that our DNA is 99% the same, that the same kinds of feedback loops that we see in the human brain also exist in the animal brain. But these are just arguments. You can't really penetrate the subjective experience of these other entities. But we're going to meet that issue again when we have these non-biological entities that act in a very convincing way. In fact, they'll be more convincing than the animals because they really will share the full range of human experience. It'll be based on the human brain, and they will convince most people that they're conscious. But that's a political prediction and not a philosophical one. It ultimately is a very mysterious issue, but we can't ignore it for that reason. And we'll settle it the way we always settle these issues, which is politically. And most people will be convinced because these entities are going to be very convincing.
I mean, he's already laying out what the political outcome of this is. And that's what really bothers me. These people know where transhumanism goes. It goes into a post-human world. I mean, he's going to talk about nanobots very, very shortly.
They'll get mad if we don't agree with them. So we will come to believe that they are conscious. But that's a little bit different than the philosophical statement that they are conscious. I mean, a lot of people in write-ups on my book have said, well, Ray Kurzweil's predicting conscious machines. My prediction's a little bit different. We're going to have machines that claim to be conscious, and they're going to be very convincing, and we're going to believe them. That's a little bit different than absolutely saying that they are conscious. Well, how will this impact human life? This is not an alien invasion of intelligent machines. They're not coming over the horizon to disturb human civilization. It's emerging from within our human-machine civilization. We already have a very intimate relationship with our computers. If all the computers today in the world stopped, our civilization would grind to a halt. Well, you could say, well, of course that's true. We built them in our cars and power plants and in our banking system and so on. But that wasn't true as recently as 25 years ago. Most of the people in this room have lived through those 25 years. And 25 years ago, if all the computers stopped, a few professors would have been frustrated to not get their printouts from their punch card submissions. A few business reports would have been delayed, but it would not have disrupted human society.
And think about it now. And they're trying to predict a cyber attack. I mean, literally, Putin today said there was satanic behavior, outward Satanism in the United States. I just want to say this. I don't want a conflict, Poot. I don't want it. Please, let's not get it going. I know that my government is shade diddly 80, but hey, some of us don't like what's going on here either.
So we've made that fateful leap in the last quarter century. We no longer have our hand on the plug. I mean, we are dependent on our machines. They're very intimately embedded in our civilization. Already $500 billion in the stock market is controlled by evolutionary algorithms. I'm not talking about program trading. Program trading is where human beings come up with simple rules, feed those into computers. The computers initiate the trades, but they're based on rules that humans have come up with. Evolutionary algorithms is where the computers not only make the trades, but they come up with the rules. And that's already 5% of the market, of the money in the market. You say, well, 5% is kind of a small percentage, but it was 2% last year. It was 1% the year before. It's going to be 8% next year. It will be more than 50% of the market within 5 or 6 years. So we're very rapidly, computer intelligence and unpredictable forms of computer intelligence are becoming very intimate in our civilization. We're going to become more intimate with our computers. We're going to ultimately, in many different ways, merge with our technology. We're already putting neural implants in our brains. We have neural implants for Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's disease involves the destruction of certain tissues, which we've identified, and there's a little neural implant that can replace the functioning of that little module. and basically reverses the symptoms of Parkinson's patients, and I talk about that in the book. There's a neural implant that suppresses the tremors from multiple sclerosis.
Now, these are brain chips, again, that have been developed even decades before this. 1999, okay, 23 years ago. I want to put that out there. And now he's going to talk about the cochlear implants in particular, which are really the ones that got largely commercialized out of all these.
I have a deaf friend who's completely deaf up until the time he got his neural implant, which is called a cochlear implant, which replaces the auditory circuits that weren't functioning. And I can talk to him on the phone, and he can hear me and understand me. It hasn't made his hearing perfect, but he can understand me on the phone or in a meeting. He could be in the audience here. He doesn't lip read, and he could understand this lecture. So we're already putting neural implants in the brains of disabled individuals. Well, within 30 years, neural implants won't just be for disabled individuals. There'll be ubiquitous use of them to extend our normal faculties, to broaden them, to increase our memories. I mean, we have a hard time remembering a handful of phone numbers. I forgot the address of the museum coming over here, although it's hard to miss since it's a very colorful building. But we will be expanding our human intelligence through the use of this type of technology. We'll also have computers that are based on designs of the human brain that will be acting human in many different ways. So we will be, in many ways, merging with our technology, expanding our human horizons through this type of technology. Another thing we'll do with these neural implants is that's how we will relate to the World Wide Web.
And now he's going to start getting into the virtual world. All right? And ultimately, that's where they want to take you. That's why, again, this is a World Economic Forum thing. It's why they're building from theory to practice, baby steps. They want governance, and again, economic, societal value, stakeholder, reducing your carbon footprint when you're in the metaverse. You're not in real life doing things. This is the reality, and this is another reason we constantly bring up. I mean, first of all, we were doing the human brain interface document yesterday, but this future strategic warfare document, the bots, borgs, and humans of 2025 AD, he's talking about 2030. They're telling you there's not pixie dust. This is the real deal. And again, bio-nano to what? Virtual. We're in the bio-nano era now. And he starts talking about nanotech and self-replicating nanobots. All right?
These implants will naturally plug into the ever-present wireless network, or internet, and the nature of the World Wide Web will be basically a virtual reality environment. Going to a website will mean entering a virtual reality environment. So if you go to the Vail skiing website, you'll be able to experience skiing in Vail, and you'll feel the cold, snowy air brushing against your face. We could have all been, in fact, geographically disparate. I could have been in Boston, and all of you could have been in different places, but we could still get together in this meeting rather than being in this hall. Not that there's anything wrong with this hall, but we could have met in a Mozambique game preserve or on a Cancun beach and feel the warm, moist air against our faces. We will go to virtual reality environments. Some of them will be very much like real reality, and they will not be the kind of crude experience that you may have had in arcade virtual reality today. They will be just as compelling and convincing as real reality. And we will go there and we will meet other real people there. And we will meet simulated people. And we will have experiences and relationships with other real people, and in some cases simulated people in virtual reality environments. And some virtual reality environments will have no counterpart in real reality. They'll be sort of fantastic new environments that we could never have experienced before. We'll be able to have new types of experiences.
And by the way, they so badly want to hardwire you into this. That's really what the neural implant is all about, because the vast majority, if not all, the technology does not have to be hardwired into you. It is malevolent by nature, in my opinion.
In fact, designing virtual reality environments will be a new job category that some of you might want to begin training for. This will be very powerful technology. I tend to be myself an optimist, but I did cover the downsides of these technologies. I mean, one, for example, is the whole issue of self-replication. Biological life is based on self-replication. We start as one little cell, and it keeps multiplying and creates a human being, and all those cells know when to stop replicating. Now, if something goes wrong at any time with the mechanism that stops self-replication, well, that's a cancer, and that does happen from time to time and is very destructive. We will have new forms of self-replicating entities, for example, self-replicating nanobots, nanorobots, which are microscopic-sized robots that are intelligent and can replicate themselves. These self-replicating robots are only useful if you have trillions of them. They can go inside our bodies and destroy pathogens and strengthen and expand our bodies and our brains. They'll be able to create virtual environments in the real world.
Let me just stop it there. See, there it is right there. They want to get it to a level where even if you don't take a human brain interface, if they inject you with nanobots that will self-replicate, they will create a virtual space in your biological space and basically change what it means to be human.
It will really, it's a technology that will overcome the unmet material needs of the human race, but you have the same danger. If any of these, the only way to get the trillions to make it useful is for them to be self-replicating. Otherwise, you could never have enough of them to be useful. Well, if any of them ever forget when to stop self-replicating because of some problem that emerges, or software error, or some malevolent intent, all the descendants of that particular self-replicating entity would replicate without end, with some obvious downside to that. This could be a very powerful weapon of war, but you would have it only self-replicate against a certain enemy. These are very powerful technologies.
And that's where we're going to leave it for him. Now, I do want to say this. Musk also talked about how the Optimus bot, which we started with, would basically build this endless economy, and it's going to be great for humanity. We're not going to have to do anything anymore. It's not true. It's just not true. All the technology that was promised back in the 40s and 50s that we did get and beyond, instead of, again, one person be able to have a family of 5, 2 cars, a stay-at-home mom or parent, right? That's all gone. It's both parents working, sometimes multiple jobs, barely making ends meet, being told that their standard of living is horrific, and they have to sacrifice more, and they have to eat less. That's the reality. So, look, there's a lot to be said about Kurzweil being honest at some points, right? These things won't necessarily be conscious, but they're going to trick you. Guys, I'm a documentary filmmaker. I'd love for you to check out Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order to find and shade the motion picture for free. For 50 cents right now, the link is down below. redvoicemedia.net/Jason. Start for just $1. We're going to be doing it 4 days a week. 4 days a week. In like the next 2 weeks. Looks like we're going to have a talk on Monday. I'd love for us to get like a boogie woogie test show in where we're going to probably let the audience in on it. And we're going RVM Premium. It's $10 a month, $100 for the year. Make sure to do my affiliate link. You can also donate via buying me a coffee. That's down below. I do want to thank everybody who did donate, including Mr. Dedamore, longtime listener and somebody who supports the broadcast. We also rumbling. Let people know about the Rumble channel because we don't always get away over here on YouTube, and we got the Rockfin, another great way to support me. Hit the subscribe button, $9.99 a month or $99.99 for the year. It's like a Netflix for creators. Guys, we're almost 66,000 strong there as well. I absolutely love you. Not a left or right issue, not a female or male issue, a human issue all the way, an issue for humanity. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the flip.